I scored a 99 percentile score on the GMAT with 6 weeks of self-study using only the GMAT official guides for my preparation. That helped me get an MBA from Columbia Business School in New York. Several years have passed since then, and the GMAT exam format has undergone a major change. I'm taking on the challenge of giving the revised version of the GMAT and equaling or beating my previous score. This time around, I'm going to capture every single minute of my GMAT prep on video. You can follow me along to see my day-to-day struggles and my learning process and identify how you too can get to your best GMAT score in a single attempt. Let's go. So today is day 1 of my GMAT prep. At this point of time, I know very little about the format of the latest GMAT. I have set aside around 2.5 hours of time to begin my prep. To get started, I purchased the official GMAT guides off of Amazon. As you can see, they're still unpacked. Besides the official guide, I have my laptop here which I'm going to use to take notes. My primary objective for the day is to learn about the format of the exam and how the exam is going to be scored. Depending on how much information I'm able to gather in the next 2.5 hours, I will identify next steps towards the end of that period. As you have probably guessed, I am a total nerd and this is the kind of thing that excites me. So let's get going. As you can see, the official guide set contains 4 books. There is the official guide, which is the integrated guide across all sections. And then there are 3 dedicated guides, one for the data insight section, one for the quantitative section, and one for the verbal section. I'm going to focus on reading the official guide for a start. So as you can see here, the first 2 sections actually are just about what the GMAT exam is about and how to prepare for the test. I think I will just focus on reading these 2 things today, and then I will get into the actual review of different sections at a later point. At this point, I've spent just under an hour reading through the first 6 pages of the GMAT official guide. There are 3 things that I did through this process. First, I took notes about key things that I observed. Second, I made a note of key next steps that I need to take. For example, the content mentioned a couple of online links where I could find more information about the test. Third, but most important, I made a note of the questions that I want to think about later or find answers to later. Here are some of the key takeaways I have at this point. The GMAT Focus Edition is going to contain 3 sections of 45 minutes each: data insights, quant, and verbal. In addition, you also get an optional 10-minute break that you can take at the end of the first section or at the end of the second section. I also found information about the number of questions you're going to get in each section. Roughly, you will get between 2 minutes to 2 minutes 15 seconds to answer each question on the test. One of the callouts in the guide is that while the practice questions in the guide are grouped by question type, during the exam, question types can appear at random. This means that you also need to develop the ability to context switch between question types as you get ready for exam day. The test will also allow you to bookmark any number of questions you want as you're taking the test. After you have answered all the questions on the test, you can retrospectively review all your answers, but you will only get to edit up to 3 answers. In that sense, bookmarks will just help you narrow down the list of questions that you want to review at the end of the test. Finally, you can take the test from home using a computer and a webcam, or you can take it at a test center near you. Those are just some of the key points I captured. I will of course make a more detailed video about the format of the GMAT and what implications that has for your test taking strategy as well as for your test preparation. You will find it linked above somewhere around here. Moving forward, I'm going to continue reading the official guide and taking notes. Before you continue, here's a reminder to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. This will tell YouTube to show you more videos of a really good looking guy talking about the GMAT. Alright, So that took me another 35 minutes. I finished reading chapter 1, which described the test content and scoring methodology. I also finished reading chapter 2, which shared some general advice on how to prepare for the test. As you have seen in the intervening video, I take copious amounts of notes, and that is something which I will go back to in order to determine my next steps from here on. Here are some of the key points I learned in the last 35 minutes. With the purchase of the official GMAT guide, you also get access to an online question bank. This question bank features the same questions that you will find in the official guide as well. However, the guide seems to indicate that the online question bank offers some additional features, so that is something that I plan to explore as the next step. Another thing I learned is that while the data insight section might show multiple questions on the screen at the same time, the quant and verbal sections will show only one question at a time. When it comes to scoring, all the three sections of the GMAT will be scored on a scale of 60 to 90 in increments of 1. So you could have scores like 61, 62, 63 and so on going up to 90. Your overall GMAT score will be calculated on a scale of 205 to 805 in increments of 10 each. So your scores will show up as 205, 215, 225 and so on. Your total GMAT score will also feature a percentile score. This percentile represents the percentage of all GMAT test takers with scores less than your score. From my past experience, I know that the GMAT also used to offer percentile scores section by section, but the guide at this point of time does not make it clear if that will continue to be offered going forward. One key takeaway for me is that I will only be able to compare my performance on the GMAT Focus Edition to my performance on the previous version of the GMAT using the percentile scores. This is because the scoring scale has changed at the overall test level as well as at the section level. Here is one final point that I think is critical for anybody preparing for the GMAT. The guide makes it pretty clear that finishing the test is actually much more important than getting every question right. While accuracy is important and you must attempt to answer as many questions as you can correctly, it is also important for you to remember that not finishing a section is going to lead to a major penalty that can lower your score. I'm going to close my study session today by synthesizing all the information that I've gathered and arriving at two sets of things. First, I want to list a clear set of next steps that I want to take. For example, I know that I want to go check out the online question bank and see what are the features that I can use to help me in my test preparation. Second, I want to identify a clear set of guidelines that I want to incorporate in my test preparation strategy as well as my test taking strategy on the final day of the exam. Alright, so that was another 20 minutes during which I simply just read through all the information that I had gathered and synthesized all of that into next steps that I want to take, as well as certain key points or callouts that I want to incorporate in my test preparation as well as my test taking strategy. Without going into too much detail, I'm just going to highlight the top 3 next steps that I plan to take, which I will aim to complete in my next study session. The first one is to use the access code that is provided in the official GMAT guide. I'm going to find this access code and use that to basically check out what online resources are free with the purchase of the guide. The guide mentions that it is the mobile app and online question bank, so we'll figure out what that is. I will register on the website to get access to the official starter kit. I know that that includes a couple of practice tests. I think it also includes some additional questions. We'll have to find out in the next study session. And thirdly, once I have access to the online question bank, I want to determine how I can use that to inform my test preparation going forward. I'm going to skip past all the other next steps that I've listed here for now because it's a long list. I will come to it in future study sessions any which way. One final call out that I want to make is that I also extracted certain key points that I want to incorporate in my test preparation and test taking strategy going forward. I've just made a list of these points as you can see on my screen. However, I will not describe them at this point of time. As we go through the preparation going forward, I will revisit these points and demonstrate to you how I incorporate them in my preparation and test taking. So that is all for today. If you have any questions for me, you will find the link in the description to an Ask Me Anything form. You might also find that link on the top right corner of this video. I do my best to respond to at least 5 questions from the Ask Me Anything form every single day. Lastly, if you found this video helpful, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, put a comment, do the natu move, whatever it is that makes you happy, and I will see you in the next video.